Now in this video number 4, I am going to explain my program that I've written to get to the menu of the real-time clock and how to program the date and time and everything into this specific device. So I'm just gonna stop this thing from this thing from running, and like I say, let's tell this thing to run from start. It is collecting junk in the beginning, but I'm going to explain in my program how we can correct that situation. So, as I've said in previous videos, I've already explained how this section works, how we read the value and how we display it. This is going to be again the final situation. As I've said in my previous video, let me just complete this. This is going to be finally, once the data is programmed in, this is where I will read it. As a start, it will again, because this display time is, that bit is a 0, so it's going to, right in the beginning, it's going to read the junk and it's going to display the junk. But let us now start by looking at the how we're going to implement the program. So if I go to my hardware or my simulated hardware, as I've said in the previous video, if I press a star, what's going to happen as soon as I press the star, you will also see that this bit from this encoder onto PD2, which is the external interrupt 0, will go low, which means I will jump into an interrupt service routine of my program. So if I press star, if you can also look at this pin here. So if I press star, it goes low. If I release it, it goes high again. But you will see that I'm sitting into where it says on the screen, hour 00:23 equals. So let's go to the program and see what happened. Doesn't matter where I was in the program, as soon as I press the button, I will jump into this interrupt service routine. And in this specific case, I've pressed a star, and it will collect the value from port D. The reason why it's shifting it to the right hand side is because if you look at this, it is the output of this encoder, which is a PIC in this specific instance, is connected to the upper nibble of port D for Delta, and this is why we need to shift it. So, but yeah, up to this point, as I've said before, this was explained. This is where I basically correct what was pressed. So if I press a star, I'm actually receiving something, but at the end of the day, key rec, or let's call it key receive, key rec, key receive will contain a value of 14. So just remember that. So what I've done is I've also got a Word document here. I just want to, key rec is 14 when we get to the specific position. And all flags, I'm basically going into all flags, and I set key pressed flag to a 1. So if I go to the Word document again, I just want to quickly key pressed flag. I just want to show you it is now a 1 at this stage. So if I go back to the program, I will jump in here. Yeah. It will, if it was sitting in here, when I pressed it, it will definitely, when it comes out of here, it is going to test and say if key pressed flag is a 1. And we've seen key pressed flag is a 1. So the moment that it gets to this if, it is going to test inside here, and it's going to say, it's going to test for the condition in the statement of is key rec equal to 14, and we know that it is equal to 14. There we see it, it is equal to 14. So it will actually go into this specific if statement. So what I did here is I said, okay, go to all flags and go to the specific display time and make it a 1. So if it makes it a 1, let me just go to the Word document. It is making display time a 1. Yeah, so it's making that one a 1. It was actually a 0. Previously it was a 0. Now I should actually do this. It is now changing that to become a 1. No, that is not scratched out. So it's now a 1 at this stage. And the reason why I make it a 1 here is you'll see then it will no longer go into, because if display time is a 1, it will not go into this if statement where it's reading the data. It will now take the values that I press and program it in before it comes out and then start displaying it. So it will not go into this if statement until display time is changed back to 0. So what will happen is I've cleared the LCD, went to the top line and printed our 00 to 23. And that's exactly what we see on the display, our 00 to 23. So if I go back to the program, as you can see here, what I've done here, now I've set this flag, date time menu flag is now also a 1. So date time menu flag is now a 1. And what I do here is I say make key pressed flag a 0 again. If I AND it, I make it a 0. Key pressed flag at this stage is thus now a 0, so it's cleared. Key pressed flag is now changed to become a 0. So this is the latest condition. It's a 0. And what I do with counter was originally placed as, set up as 0. Now I'm incrementing counter to become a 1. So if I go to my Word document, counter was a 0. Now counter will become a 1. Good. So if I now look at this if statement, then as you can see, key pressed flag is a 0. So in the program, if I test this if key pressed flag, that is a 0, so it will not go into this function. Yes, it will not go into this function, and it will actually skip this if statement, or not a function, it's a statement, and then go to the top again. We've seen display time is now a 1, so it will not go into this if statement here. Key pressed flag is a 0, so it will not go in here. So it will actually go in nowhere until I press a next button. So if I press the next button, let's look on what's going to happen here. If I press the next button, let's say the time in my case now is 13, so let's just press the 1. And we'll see it places the 1 here. So in my program, what happened? When I press the button, it would have jumped into the interrupt service routine, which is here. As you can see, I have pressed the 1, so key rec has got a value of 1 in it. So let me just go to the Word document, and I'll place, in key rec, I'm now going to place a 1. Then I'm also setting key pressed flag again. So key pressed flag is now a 1. Key pressed flag is now becoming a 1 again. And I will jump out of the interrupt service routine. So as I've said, that display time, it can't go into this if function. Let's look at this thing. If key pressed flag is a 1, is it a 1? Yes, it is a 1. So it will go into this if statement, which means it will test this if, and test this if also, and further on. So key rec, is it 14? No. So it was 14, but it's not. Key rec is now equal to 1. So I will not go into this section. But let's look at this next one. It says here, if key pressed, is it a 1? Yes, it is a 1. There's my key pressed flag. It is a 1. So that's not a problem. So that is true. Let's just test further and go to all flags and also see, is date time menu flag a 1? Yes, it is a 1. That means it will now go into this function, into this if statement here, and the if statement is actually closed after this default line here. So it will now go into this specific if statement. So what I've done here, remember it has printed that section on LCD screen. So if I now say go and write LCD variable print, this means print one character and print key rec. So what's it going to do? It is going to print key rec because the pointer on the LCD is standing right after the equal sign. So this is where it stands. So it's going to print the value of key rec there. So let's see if that is true. If I go to my Proteus again and I press the 1, there it is. It is printed, it has printed it there. But what I'm also doing is I go to date time array. My counter, as you will recall, is 1. I'm just going to prove it to you. My counter is 1. There it is. And I'm now storing key rec into that position. So if I can go to my Word document, in this position here, key rec position number 1, element number 1, I'm placing a 1 in there. You will see, actually, I do not make use of the date time element number 0. I did not use that at all. So the 1 is placed here. Go to the program again. As you can see, key press flag is now again, it is reset. So it's 0. So if I can just go there, that is now again changed to become a 0. And it says now switch counter. So we know the counter, if I look at my Word document, my counter at this stage is sitting at 1. So if I go into my switch case statement, I will go in here, and all I'm doing into case 1, because the counter is 1, is to increment the counter. So the counter is now going to become a value of 2. So counter is now a value of 2. But key pressed, as we've said, is now a 0 again. And to be quite honest, if you look at, and of course after this case 1 it will break and get out of here. And then it will start again by testing the if statements. It will not go into this one because that flag is a 1. It will not go into this one because key pressed flag is a 0. Which means it cannot go into anything else. So this thing is now waiting for the next key to be pressed. So if I press another key, let's just go to, I've set the time in my case is 1300. So if I press a 3, it displays 3. But what happened in the program? Well, I've jumped into the interrupt service routine, which is this one here. Key rec after correction will sit with a value of 3. So let me just put it down here again. Key rec has now got a value in it of 3. And again, key pressed flag is equal to a 1. So let's key pressed flag, let's change that back to a 1 again. And it will jump back to the main program. Again, it's not going to jump in here because of that display time, which is a 1. Is key press flag a 1? Yes, it is a 1. So we will go into this specific function here. If key rec is 14, no, it's not 14. It will not go in here, in other words. But what about this one? Key pressed flag, yes, it is a 1. And date time menu flag. Date time menu flag is a 1 and key press flag is a 1. So yes, it will go into this specific statement again. And what do I say? Print that value. So this is why, remember we've print directly after the equal sign here, we've printed a 1. And that key rec is 3, it will actually print the 3. And we saw it already. We saw it, it was 1, 3. It waited for 1 second and then it went to the next menu. So let's just go here. the counter is now a value of, if I look at this one, the counter is a value of 2. And I'm saying in my program, go to the array, element number 2, and place key rec. So key rec is now, which a value of 3 is placed in element number 2 of the specific array. So from this, what can you see? I've placed the high hour in here in element number 1, and I've placed the low hour in element number 3. Do I clear? Yes, I clear the flag again. Counter is, at this stage, counter is 2. So I'm going to jump in here and increment the counter. So counter is now going to become a value of 3. And there's a certain delay. And this is just to, in the previous case, to keep, remember we started off with hours. It was just to keep it there for 1 second. And the reason for putting 100 here is because Proteus has got a problem. I'm making use of a 16 megahertz crystal. Then you must actually, if you make use of a 16 megahertz crystal, you must just make the, if you want a 1 second, it's actually 1 divided by 10. Just make it 10 times less. So this is why this will, on the screen, show as a 1 second if I use 100. In real life, of course, you'll use a 1000. Then I'm clearing this, and this is, go to the top line again, and then print minutes 00 to 59. And this is why we see minutes 00 to 59. So you've actually already got the picture now. I'm in like I've said here, in element number 1, I've stored the high hour, or hour high, hour low. And it's quite logic that I'm going to store the minute high in number 3 and the minute low in number 4. Let's see if I can quickly run through that. So again, if I now start pressing, in this case, it is, in my case, it's 34. So let me go to this one here. So if I press a value of 3 again, what's going to happen in my program? I will again jump into the interrupt service routine. Key rec will become a value of 3 because it's 30. And in the program, as you can see by now, as you know by now, I'm going to jump in here, yes, and I'm going to display that key rec. There it is. It's displayed there as 3 because remember the previous one was the minutes. So it's actually going to display right after the equal sign, and this is why it will display the 3, but also, and my counter at this stage is also 3. As we can see, the counter is number 3, and I will now store that key rec, which is 3, which is 3, will now be stored in position number 3 there also. And here I'm actually taking key pressed flag and make it 0 again, and so forth. So, and incrementing, of course, after that I'm also incrementing the counter. Going after this, I'm incrementing the counter because the counter was at 3. So I'm incrementing the counter to 4. And now the process actually, as you can see, the process is the same. I'm just storing values now, one after the other. So this one, if I type in on my screen, if I type in on my screen 30, what is it, 36 at this stage, it will show 6 there, but the 6 in the array will actually be stored here. And if I type, for instance, if I type on the screen, let's say my seconds is 25, it will show the 25, and on my, it will actually place a 2 here, and it will place a 5 here. And the same is now going to happen with a year, or the day and the year and everything. So this is how I would then store all of my information in this array. And when you get to the end of this, you can go and you go through the program yourself, and you'll see that. Let me just. I just want to make sure that you see the whole program here. Yeah, that's good enough. And once you go and store the last and final one, if you store the final one, which is number 12 here, you will then basically, as we know by now, in element number 1 and 2, that's where the hour sits. And I'm combining them into hour 24. 3 and 4, this is where the minute sits, and I'm combining them into minutes. And I'm combining seconds, and I'm combining day and month and year, because year sits in 11 and 12. And as I've said before, this set time, I've explained that already. So now I've got hour 24, and I can set the time. And I've got the minutes, and I can set it, and I've got the seconds, and I can actually program my real-time clock. The same with the date. I can program the year, the month, and the day. And as you can see here, I'm actually making display time 0 again, and I'm also returning the date time menu flag to a 0 again. And if I take this flag and it becomes a 0, then what happens is, because remember now, at this stage, everything was programmed into the registers. The time and the date is programmed into the registers. But now I can, when I go back, and it comes here after a very short while, display time is now a 0, and now it will go like before and collect the hour, minute, seconds, or let's say it collects the seconds, minutes, and hours, and then it's displaying everything on the screen as it's supposed to be. So if I go back to this one, what is the day? I can say the day is 06, and then it's going to ask me what is the month. The month is 05, and what is the year? It's 25, and then it will read, because that display flag is now a 0, and this is why it shows you exactly the time and the date. I must admit, people, let me just show you what I mean. I did not cater. I said you must type in 00 to 23. I did not cater for, in this program, if you make mistakes. In other words, if you type in 45, which is impossible, it will show 45. And it will also store 45. So I did not cater for that. You can go and look at this program of mine. You can actually go and change it to make sure that you stay within these limits. In other programs that I've used before, I've done that, but because it becomes a little bit complicated, you must just make sure that you cannot program wrong data in. I hope this was helpful to you and can help you to program a real-time clock, because it's now quite easy. In a program, you can just go and read the value, and if it's equal to a certain set time, you can switch on an alarm or switch on let's say an irrigation system or whatever. Thank you for your time.